This is where the fun begins.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the expanded universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The expanded universe respects the reader. In the expanded universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational. And he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story in continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
Are you sure? So be it.
Ganner spun his shining blade in a dazzlingly complex flourish that illuminated the arch around him, making it shine like a rainbow frame for the pure animal grace of his body. "This threshold," he announced through a happy grin, "is mine. I claim it for my own. Bring on your thousands, one at a time or all in a rush. I don't give a damn." His flourish ended with the blade slanted before his chest, and his teeth flashed in the gloom. None shall pass. They come at him one at a time, an endless stream, each warrior in turn charging toward honorable single combat. Then they come two at a time. By the time they begin to come in groups, they have to scramble over bodies of their dead comrades to reach him, a pile of bodies. A pile that becomes a wall, a rampart. Ganner Rhysode builds a fortress of the dead.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Caf Chat on OG Star Wars channel. And I'm your host, Alora. How are you guys doing? It's a quick minute. It's been a busy month, but we are here. We are still here gathering. And I'm already looking at the comments on both Rumble and here on YouTube. And I see I have quite a crowd going on. And today's topics basically are a bit loaded here today. Coming to you with talking about Disney and AI and what does that mean for the future? Just because they walked away out of the deal, does that mean they're not going to use AI? So think about it, right? Think about it. Then we're going to talk about the remake of KOTOR. So that's been going on for 4 years, the announcement. I remember it first was announced 4 years. It seemed like 4 years, but anyways, something like that. 4 years. Holy shit. I could be off some. But anyways, since since the announcement, when I first started posting about this remake, I was like, wording matters. Remake means they're going in and remaking stuff in there. Remaster just means that they're, updating the, like the play, all that, the system and stuff like that for the future, for the updated software and future games and stuff. So it's compatible, right? So remake, we'll talk about that. And is this a doom for KOTOR? So think about that. And tribute to the author. So we all know Kyle Katarn is one of the most beloved EU characters outside the movies. So he's one of the characters that has been highlighted in, his story along with Janor's really got the fans' attention right now. So excuse me, why is my voice all sounding harsh? But anyways, we are going to talk about the contributor, the writer to Dark Forces, his tribute since he passed away. And then, of course, Ganner Rhysode. we're I guess you could say the events of Traitor. We're starting to finish up next week. We will fully finish up Traitor and move on to the next book and its events in the timeline. But I wanted to give character focus to Ganner Rhysode. He's a character that really comes from being this snide, self-absorbed kind of person, wanting to be more, not seeing himself, but seeing others as himself and trying to find himself in a sense, to this person who steps up in realization that he doesn't need to impress. He doesn't need to be someone else. And really steps up in a time, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say maybe of need or maybe of companionship with Jason. Hold on. I got cats walking around in paint. Oh my God. Hold on. I'm going to pause. I'm going to play a clip real quick and I'm going to remove the paint. Yes, I have paint out. Let me see here. Let's play this one.
Like Jedi is something that came a little later. When we started building Jedis, we had a lot of Jedis, and we needed more and more Jedis. As we were doing them toward the end, we ended up with a lot of Jedis that looked like people that worked at ILM, with these short little haircuts and looked like they stepped out from behind a computer. And so I was saying we have to get more exotic Jedis, and so we only have so much resources to do these things with. But I do have Twi'leks because we use them quite a bit in other areas in the Senate and as background action. So I have a sort of a wardrobe and a setup of certain kinds of characters. So it was a way of reinventing some of those characters. And I had realized that we had a comic book that has a Twi'lek in it that is a Jedi. There's a whole series actually of her. And I said, well, why don't we put her in this? I mean, she's a comic character, but we'll just fit her in and have her be a background character because that's exotic. That's how the Twi'lek Jedi ended up in the backgrounds of these shots, was to try to use some of the work and effort that the guys in the comic book world had put into things and characters they had created.
Yes, bad kitty. Yeah, I have one of my windows open. So if you hear birds in the background, that's what's going on. Here in California, we've been going through this unusual warming phase, I guess you could say. And so the temperature's been up to 80 at one point and all that. So we really have spring's really happening, I guess. You know, you can hear the birds and stuff, but the air feels good right now. So I have the window open, so don't mind the birds. It's just a little bit of background noise that sounds pretty nice, but to each their own. So anyways, going back, so Ganner Rhysode, we'll discuss him as well. And I did actually make a slide for it. So I'm excited that I made a little slide just to kind of just talk about his main events in his life before his death. And I was looking up where he, was he mentioned anywhere else in New Jedi Order and past New Jedi Order? And yes, he was mentioned. He was mentioned in Union, comic number 1 of Union. So just a little history there as well. And I'm trying to figure out if there's any more. So if you know of any other sources outside of the New Jedi Order past into Legacy that he's mentioned, put it in the comics. Geez, I can English. I swear I can comics. I was thinking about Union comics because that's a fun one. Not everybody cares for that one, but it's a fun one. It's a fun one with Mara Jade and Luke's marriage. Yeah. So good morning, you guys, and welcome to Caf Chat. What's in your mug? How are you guys doing? I haven't said hello to anybody in the chat just yet. And so I'll move that way here pretty soon. So I just wanted to update you guys. It's been a very, very busy month for me, moving my daughter out of her apartment. Her lease is now finally up. And so we're figuring out what she's keeping, what she's not, and what she has can we use for ourselves in our home here. And kind of like recycling and donating and even a garage sale. How many people still go to garage sales? Yeah, so just been busy doing that every single weekend. We've been going down there, packing, cleaning, and we have 2 tracks, so filling up the beds, the backs with stuff we're bringing back and stuff. Our last Saturday is a Saturday, and finalizing everything for her to turn in her keys. So with that, and then of course my new schedule this month now has me working 2 days in a row at the studio where I teach at. So it kind of keeps me busy when it comes to prepping Caf Chat. And so I haven't been able to go live as many times as I want to, especially for Rumble being in the creator program. So I don't know how that's going to be for me. So we'll see. Anyways, so with that being said, let's get this party started, right? So let's see here. We have Double A in here. Yes. So how are you doing? And what's up to you? And of course, we always have lurkers. That's just a standard, a thing now. It's funny that they say, and I don't cringe on that. It just makes me giggle. Once you have people who are constantly trying to go after it, it means you made it, right? So I don't know. To each their own, you decide. But let's see here. This is for the lurkers.
Bitch, sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down. Bitch, sit down. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up to score with them. The industry can hate me, fuck them all and they mama.
All right, and the cats are jumping up into the window because I hear the birds, so you're gonna hear that crashing. I'm gonna have to close that window. My studio is open to the kitchen, so because I have to keep an airflow, that's why it's not like a closed studio for filming videos and doing lives and stuff, because this is a working studio of art studio, and I do need the circulation here. So that's what's going on. And we're not going to talk about those lurkers, so we're just going to let that pass. No need to give them any further attention, even though they love the attention and they like to keep pursuing. But anyway, it's crazy how Ganner makes a last stand and took 1,000 of Yuuzhan Vong warriors. Freaking nuts. Exactly. And I can't wait till we get to that and talk about it. Let me see here. Fought like a badass warrior. Yes, he sure did. All right. And then we have Scran all the way across the pond. Hello, how are you doing? Howdy, y'all. Hit the like and tell us what's in your cup. What is in your cup? Now we're talking about beverage. Okay, so Ogre became a YouTube member, so he re-upped his membership. Thank you so much. I need to continue on with our Young Jedi Nights. I'm hoping that this next month we can set up a Sunday and take care of that. So stay tuned. Anybody who wants to become channel members, stay tuned for that. I got to figure out how that would work for Rumble. Rumble's a whole new ballpark for me. There's things that are similar, but then their ideas and stuff like that are, and some focuses are different. So it's a new ball game for me, but I'm enjoying it. And I guess you could say I got to get rid of this attachment towards YouTube, right? That's a hard thing. That's a hard one. That's what she said. All right. So let's see here. It was time to renew, and thank you so much. I appreciate it. And let me see. I always forget that I can give clips. So here we go.
What kept you?
What kept you?
I love you.
I know.
All right. Let's see here. And so thank you so much for re-upping. The Ganner and Pierce all the way on the Rumble side. All the Rumble homies on that side. If you guys have not followed and subscribed, feel free to do that. Let's support the Rumble side. Yeah. All right. KOTOR remake is in trouble. The original takes the lead. And that's what we will, I want to say so much right now, but we will get into that here pretty soon. I want to save my thoughts for the actual, because I can go on a huge tangent. And of course, then everybody in the chat, because I know I have a lot of Knights of the Old Republic fans that watch the show. So I know we're all going to go on this tangent. And let's see here. All right. And let's see here. I got tortilla scoops and salsa with my coffee. Ooh, what a combination. But I might need to roll more smokes. There you go. Roll your smokes. My grandma's brother, I call him my uncle, not great uncle or grandpa, because my grandma raised me. She's more of my mom than a grandma, but respectively, she is my grandma through, generation wise. But he used to roll his own cigarettes. Roll his own. I remember his big old tin can of tobacco and his papers and stuff, and that smell actually was pretty good. So, but I never liked smoking cigarettes. So, but the smell of it and just smelling it and the memory of that, so good, so good. All right, let's see here, and we have Conrado there here all the way from the Philippines. What's up? All right, the show is going to start. Yes, this is where the fun begins. Yes, exactly. Good afternoon, OG and Rumble. Yes, and Mystic Troll, and we have Gummy and also Pierce on the Rumble side. And I don't mind if you guys hop back and forth between YouTube and Rumble, but go follow if you have not. There you go. And listening at work. Whistle while you work. Disney. But anyways, I just had to do that. I just had to. And morning, fellow knights. How are you doing, Bato? How are you doing? And Melissa Lord, another channel member. How are you doing? I was just saying, if you didn't hear, that I need to continue doing the Young Jedi Knights listen party. It's been so busy since this new year has started that I think that April might be a good chance to restart it. March, April. Yeah. I'm like, what month are we in? Oh, goodness. They're pushing the KOTOR remake. Yes, they are. And I know I read that in Rumble, but I wanted to wait till I just started addressing everybody in the chat. But yeah, it's been going on for a while, and they would say it's canceled or halted. And there's so many excuses behind it. So, with how long from the announcement, oh God, I told you guys I wasn't going to Rumble, but I'll just add this here. From when they announced to now on this remake makes me a bit afraid of what's going on. If you look at Battlefront, the latest one, the Disney-fied one, they put characters in there from Disney, right? So, makes you wonder what property is within the later time of the Old Republic timeline. And who does that consist of? So think about that. You don't have to answer that now. I'll bring this back up when we get to it. All right, let's see here. Elitist, yes, elitist, you know, because they try to use that as a bad word towards us, like an insulting word, an insulting word. It's not. And I'm the kind of person, like, if you're going to call me name, I'm just going to turn it into something positive for myself in a sense. Depend on the word, but, you know, as a Gen Xer, we tend to do that. Or we tend to find something to push back on you. Or just like, oh, well, you know, you said what you said. Fuck you. That's all I'm giving you. So depending on the circumstances and what we're feeling, you know. We were the feral kids, right? We were the feral kids, and we are still feral. Let's flip you off. All right, begin, Jedi. There we go. Okay, let's see here. He's a soul assassin is here. Our Vato is here. Our other mod. You were kind of quiet this morning, so I was like, I wonder what's going on with the Vato over there. Did the power go out there in Texas again or something, or what have you? It seems like a lot of times that you haven't, or you were late or something like that, some kind of power issues going on. And it's kind of funny because California, I remember we were going with our rollouts with, you know, with the electricity like a few years, or maybe more than a few years ago. And I was thinking, is Texas doing the same thing, or is just right now their grid is just all fucked up or something? I don't know. But anyways, welcome. And then Mike C is here. What a Jedi that guy is. He is. And so I'm going to finish looking at the comments just to pick up on any thing you guys are discussing and saying hello to whoever is popping up that I did not see. And if I miss anybody, I'm sorry. It's not intended. But yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out. And I'm still streaming on to Twitter, even though it doesn't make money. That's okay. It brings in viewers. People get curious on what we're talking about, and they come in. Sometimes it brings in subscriptions to, you know, YouTube, and I'm hoping it'll bring subscriptions over to Rumble. So it's just one of those where you gotta put yourself out there to a space where you are being seen, even if they're not making anything from it. Now, as my channel is, you know, is a source of income. It's just a little tiny source of income, just a little tiny bit. It just, with your guys' support and all this, it just makes things worthwhile to keep running and keep George Lucas Air Star Wars in front of people. You guys let me know, and we'll continue, and we are slowly growing. And I'm happy. I'm comfortable. I'm happy with this. And yeah, but anyways, there I go into a Rumble. All right. And of course, AA says AI channel such as Star Wars Chronicles, Star Wars or Skywalker stories, no told stories. Star Wars are just making continuity of Disney stars in their own narrative way, believing that they can win that. And then they're also taking stories that are from the original EU and then also adding Disney in there, thinking it's a win. And I guarantee you, maybe one of them at least said once that they don't like the EU going into Disney lore. So why is this being done? Another thing to think about, you guys. Another thing to think about. And let's see here. Anybody else jumping in? Smash the like. You are right. Yes, the kitties are being bad. Let's see here. And how'd you guys come in if I don't catch you? Hello, hello. If you're catching the replay, thank you so much. Let's see here. Plenty of lurkers and fake purists in chat. There you go. Let's see here. And wait, Modesto. Now y'all can start the stream. So what's funny is I was going to talk about I was going to mention, and I decided not to, but I'm going to mention it now. For the remake, if I'm right, the remake name was Modesto or something like that in honor of George Lucas. And then you have Headland, who was Yout, I swear I can English. I swear I can. I'm not fucking drunk. It's like 9:30 a.m. here, and I really don't drink. But anyways, she was shot in Modesto, right? In her production or whatever. Oh my God. What's up with this word Modesto? And they act like this man, this George Lucas, is dead. Have you noticed that? They talk as if he's gone. Think about that. Oh, it's a tribute to George. It's where George lived. He's just right up the fucking road. Well, maybe not. Where is he living now? Is he down in Hollywood area, or is he still up in the Bay Area, Delta area of California? Someone find that out for me, and I'll find it in the chat, and we'll share. But I know he has that museum that should be opening here pretty soon, down in LA area. Let's see here. I'm scrolling down, scrolling. I'm on chapter 15 of Destiny's Way. Man, I forgot how good Luke Viger dialogue is. It is so good. And you know, that's one thing that I want to cover too, is Luke Viger dialogue, because you could tell, like, when he's talking to her in the book there, when he talks about her to Jason in Darkness Trilogy, it's still the same thought process that he's trying to understand. And he noticed how she's dark then, and then he talks about it later. So I want to show how those dots are connecting, because these green dolts and these Alstonverse people can't really see the connective tissue, because they already have it in their head canon, and they're based it upon the creators and what they said their target was, but what they wrote down and how they, between each author and their iteration of Viger, and then also with Jason, it's not as synergistic as we think it is. If you're really gonna, New Jedi Order, one of the best, or for a lot of people, the best series in Star Wars, right? But the direction of those two characters and what the authors were intending, if we didn't know their intention of the characters behind the scene, we probably wouldn't be in this discussion today. But their intentions from what they said behind the scene versus what was written and how it's perceived are totally different. And I'm just going to leave it at that right now. Totally different, because as we start moving on through the New Jedi Order more and getting closer to the conclusion of it, we'll have more discussions of that. And I last Caf Chat, I did talk about that too. And I think it's very important to look at these intentions versus how it was written and how the characters are perceived. And are we as fans base our opinions of the characters on what was said behind the scenes, or how it was written? That's something to think about. Do we base it on the intentions that were said behind the scene by the authors, or how we perceived it in the story, how it was written? And I think the behind the scenes it's no importance to how it was written out. Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one. And that will piss off a lot of people, especially those Alstonverse people, right? All right. It's always good to hear what the creator's intentions were, but it doesn't always align to what was really put down, what was produced or written. And that even goes with George Lucas, right? Because a lot of people take his word, like when it comes to like even the sequel trilogy treatments that he didn't write. Well, I'm thinking of script. So there's treatments, the ideas that he wrote down as quote unquote gospel. but it never happened. It never happened. So it's not canon, right? So, but we're talking about intentions that were actually canon. But again, how do we perceive this? What was written or what was said behind the scenes? All right. Anyways, going deep on that. I'm scrolling down. Let's see here. Mystic Troll said, oh, he's talking to Purist. Hashtag Modesto. Let's see here. Brigier was right and mocked Luke. Brigier was right. Right about what? Right about what? Because to me, her and Kriya from KOTOR are not the same mindset, but their mindset is very, very their own headcanon about the Force and stuff. And they're both very, very dark. They're dark side. So how is she right? Let's see here. And one thing I'm really enjoying in Truth at Bakor is the dynamic between Luke and Nagario. I like to imagine as what if scenario where he married her and taught her about the Jedi. That's very interesting because we know that she's very anti-Jedi from her experiences and all this other stuff in the past. And she also has a little bit of, like, I guess you could say, imperial influence, maybe. So I don't know. Maybe you let me know if you think it's that way. Matthew Stover basically said that he does not want to influence the reader's perspective on the characters. Think about that. Think about that. And it's not just one writer that needs to be consulted. Another one. They have put together, they had a big meeting. Some authors are brought in after the fact. They had a big meeting. They put together this, what is formed as a Bible of the story and stuff. And of course, as the story gets written, things do change up a bit, right? Things do change. That's just how the evolution of the story is. So let's see here. She was right against Luce. She said basically nothing wrong except maybe the idea about Jedi relationships. We will come to that because she says a lot of things that were wrong. All right. So anyways, let's get into our mini segments here. And I want to go ahead and present this first.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
Right. So Luke is facts. Luke is facts. And the screens that I get to just click on and share right away, that it's changed up here in StreamYard or whatever. Yeah, StreamYards. I'm going to say StreamYards. And so now that's kind of off for me again. So, but anyways, so here we go. David Filoni was not sought out by George for animation director for Clone Wars. He was recommended for a position by Chris Benaski and hired by Lucasfilm's Catherine Winder. George Lucas wanted Genndy Tartakovsky and their negotiations fell through, which opened up the position. So a little bit of facts here on this process, because Filoni and many people will say that he was hand chosen, brought in by George. That's not the truth. And more of this goes into, and Filoni talks about that in this interview with one of the Disney Lucasfilm official ladies, and I forget her name. The one where he talks about, he doesn't want to ruin EU characters. So it's in that same interview, and I'll share the link in the descriptions later. Basically, he was talking with Chris Benaski on how you should watch the PT. So he's sharing his headcanon on how to watch the PT. I thought that was kind of funny because and he was even telling his friend Chris like you need to stop applying your own wants and needs or whatever. And I'm paraphrasing, okay, about the PT, and this is how you should watch this. And Chris was so amazed by Filoni's explanation that when he got a call that Lucasfilm was looking for a director, animation director, or basically someone to do the Clone Wars, the newest project of the Clone Wars, he recommended Filoni. Now we know that Tartakovsky was George's first pick, and before they sent out words for someone to come and step in for the Clone Wars, George was in negotiations, and that fell through. And that's what opened up the position for what now is known as the Clone Wars 03. So there you go. So a little bit of history here. A little bit of history here. And so this all interties with like some sources I shared in the past, and just a recent one that was shared with me. And I figured, you know what, I'm going to string these all together to give a little bit more clarity and history to what happened with the Clone Wars and how Filoni basically came into the production. So there we go. There we go. So here, this will be, like I said, I'll share the link below. I forgot to share it when I did set the schedule for these to be posted. So I will share those here pretty soon. I figured instead of sharing the links and stuff here at the bottom, I'm gonna, like, of this image, I'm going to share it in the comments where the post is placed. So here on YouTube, then also on Twitter. So there you go. All right, so let's get on to our next sections. And you guys know what that is. So let's see here.
I hate to say it, but it looks like the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
All right. If it doesn't appear in our records, it does not exist. So here we go. Come on, you can do it. All right. So since we have this crazy ass wannabe mall show coming out, what I thought would be interesting is bringing in for the book of the week, Star Wars Threats of the Galaxy. So RPG, and these are Threats of the Galaxy. So this book here has a lot of like what you would consider villains or antagonists and stuff. And of course, it's a role-playing game, so you can be one of them, and you could, you know how role-playing games work. So the authors, Gary Astleford, Eric Kagel, Robert Schwab, and John Schneed, Patrick Struisman, and Rodney Thompson. The illustrators, Drew Baker, Jeffrey Carlisle, Gonzalo Flores, Tomas Girolio, I probably butchered that, and then Warren Mahi, Walter O'Neill, Mark Teden, Francis Thai, and Udon, and Friends Bullwinkle. All right. I don't have my friggin' reading glasses on, and so on my screen it's kind of tiny. And then it was published hardcover in May 2008. So how many of you guys know of this one? Have you guys played this one? Let me know in the comments here. Let's see here. But OG, the EU isn't canon because George had a concept for potential sequel trilogy. I know. That narrative is so fucking funny, isn't it? All right. So let's see here. Great cover art. Yes, it is. You have dark side, but also does the Force. Yes, there is such a thing as dark side of the Force because light is balanced, dark is not. And then when you go to Korriban, not you, but the characters, Korriban basically is a dark side nexus. And it can influence lightsiders and also hurt them in a sense, or I don't say hurt. That's the wrong word. It can distort them. It can change them, confuse them. Yeah. So just a little bit of history there. Let's see here. Gen X baddies with Gen Z reading level. And no, it's not a reading level. I just don't have my fucking glasses on now. If I can, I'm flipping you off right now. I have great reading, just not great eyes. There we go. I think the dark side is inherently evil, though. That's why staying in the light is so difficult, because it's easy to go dark. Yeah, it's the easy path. That's what makes it so, I guess you can say, addictive. Yeah. It's not always good, or it's not always easy to do things with good intentions. And this, like, I'm going to go into our own reality in a sense. As human beings, we tend to always steer towards the negative criticisms of ourselves and others and stuff like that sometimes, especially towards ourselves, and or steer into I guess you can say bad thoughts and stuff like that. So it's always easy to fall towards that side than to stay like positive, stay motivational. I don't know. I'm just trying to put together these words here to how it works and what George was thinking. And I know there's a clip how he discusses it. And you know, I know he says like it's easy to like passion is something that's fleeting, but joy is something that sustainable. I guess I'm probably messing up. I'm paraphrasing as it is, but I'm probably messing up what he was saying there. Let's see here. And yes, Rise of Dark, Skywalker, Rise of Palpatine, merge the light and dark side. Yeah, the Force dyad. It was even before then. It was in The Last Jedi, I believe, is when that became something. All right, so continuity notes. The accessory provided everything you need to populate your Star Wars games, featuring completed statistics for dozens of characters, creatures, and droids. This book gives game masters a quick reference guide that can be used to fill adventures with enemies, allies, and bystanders, drawn from the Star Wars films, novels, comics, and computer games. This is also for use with Star Wars role-playing game, Saga Edition Core Rulebook, and Star Wars miniatures. So there you go. So something fun, but I'm seeing this. I have this on what's not in my bookshelf right now. It's actually in the living room. I think it's still in the living room. But anyways, I have this, and just with the fact that we are seeing, this announcement of this Maul show coming out and all this other stuff. And, we have Maul in the image here, and this is about basically the villains, antagonists, and stuff like that. Basically kind of like the underworld kind of nature, even though it's not the underworld. It's like the dark faction of the galaxy. I wouldn't say gray, because we're talking about light and dark, and now I'm like the gray faction. But, it's all about, just the grungy. Because, you be a smuggler and stuff too, right? So anyways, thought I'd share this just to bring light to, you know, Maul and other villains, including Grievous, that's here on the cover, within George Lucas' era, right? George identified what the dark side truly is, because he's the one who made it. And he tells you how you get there. And this is for Star Wars. All right. So anyways, let's go on. Seems like Filoni's ripping off the Maul 1313 games for the show. That's what I'm hearing. All right. So yeah, who cares about the TC Mortis, TC and TCW and the Mortis? There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and get into, because we're coming to the top of the first hour. Let's go ahead and get into our lore talk. And today is about Ganner, about the Ganner Rhysode of, you know, within the timeline of Traitor, the events. But we're also going to talk about his character even before then, because this is about a character focus, So let me go ahead and remove this from the screen. And these role-playing games and stuff like that, they're now collector stuff now. They can go for a pretty penny. I did not check to see if they're in thrift books and how much they are, so didn't do my homework on that end. But I would think that using thrift books, maybe eBay, which we have people who are going to sell them for a pretty penny stuff, but try to look for them for a reasonable price and add them to your collection. Add as many role-playing games from the past to your collection. Build up that library, because they have so much wonderful sources in there. And, you know, it's something like, if you're still into that role-playing games, then it's something to have for your own library, right? So check it out. And if you have it, let me know. And if you played with others, let me know. All right. So with that being said, let me go ahead and pull up this slide. Here we go. All right. So full screen here. Full screen. It's been a while since we've seen the cover of my PowerPoints for the talking of the events of New Jedi Order through each, you know, time frame of the book. And I wouldn't say like I said, maybe, I don't know. But anyways, we have the map here, the Vong, Yuuzhan Tar, and here we go. So we're talking mainly about Ganner in the timeline of Traitor, and even before, because Traitor is when we see Ganner make his last stand. So those have read through so far and has experienced Ganner Rhysode. What do you think about the character? Before we fully get into this, what do you think about the character? What really brought notice of him to you? He is one of Kip's dozens. We know that. So what really stood out for you? Melissa Lord says, I have lots of RPG books. I miss playing the B game. Cool. Do you have this one that I shared? Do you have this one that I shared? All right, let's see here. So I'm waiting for, if any of you guys have anything to say about Ganner, go ahead and do it. If not, then that's cool, because maybe this will spark interest into reading about it. So let's see here. I like both Weston's game and WOTC. Yeah, I know what that was. Star Wars. Oh, the chat is moving. RPGs, yeah. Let's see here. All right. So with this, here is his stats. If you guys didn't know, I always thought it's interesting to bring the stats. So homeworld tier, I think I said that right. Born after 18 BBY. So he is around younger than Luke, more than likely younger than Luke. died 27 ABY on Coruscant. Of course, his species is human male. Height over 1.77 meters. Hair color black. Eye color blue. Skin color fair. And his affiliations, New Jedi Order and New Republic. And I should have put like Kip's Dozen. I should have put that on there. And I forgot to. But anyways, we know that he's a part of his squadron, Kip's Dozen. And so we'll get into that. Melissa says, no, I don't have that unless mine is older with a different cover, which in the case with some of them. Yeah. You know, I didn't even check to see if there's another cover. Every time when I was putting this book of the week together, that's the cover that was given to me. So interesting. And I'm not saying that there wasn't another, this is the only cover, because we know that covers do change up a little bit. There are new additions. I think there was a new edition, updated version to that one too. So there probably was. There probably was. All right, let's see here. Let's get on with the slide. And whoops. What's that? Do I have this in the right order? Okay. So Mission to Bemil. That was something that was very, very interesting because during the time he was very staunchly within Kip's faction, I guess you can say, and his dozen. And so his mindset was different than Corran Horn's, but they went together. And there's more story behind that. So Pura says, Ganner arc in New Jedi Order is great. He starts off as an impulsive Jedi meant to highlight Kip's philosophy over Luke's. Correct. He's humbled when losing in battle to the Vong and the Dark Tide duology. Right. And so we're gonna cover that. So there you go. And yeah, so he's within Kip's faction philosophy. All of that is the same. Corran Horn on that is, you know, more or less Luke's side, I guess you could say, because there was a split faction on how the Jedi should pursue the Vong. And this is where we've seen Luke more passive in his fears of his Jedi going to the dark side or himself. And so he's being very passive, even though there's times where they stepped in to help assist, fight, what have you. He was more or less passive. There's this big debate back and forth. You know, if you read the stories, then you'll know about the big debate with Kip's faction and stuff, and how even his niece and nephew, Luke's niece and nephew were basically siding pretty much with Kip and them on what needs to be done. And, you know, we see Luke act this way because of the fact that how he was tainted by the dark side, I guess you could say. And through trying to infiltrate the cloned Palpatine and destroy him from the inside and understand the dark side a little bit more. So he understands how and all the implications that can lead someone to the dark side in a sense, for experiencing that himself. But then again, Kip Duran too can, right? Because he was one of Luke's first students, and he was brought in and he was influenced by Exar Kun and went to the dark side. And so we have these two opposing factions within the order on debating and moving through how they should handle the Vong. And later on, Luke does get out of that mindset, but it takes him a little while. And that was out of, you know, being of wanting to protect, because he didn't want all these new Vaders in the galaxy in a sense, you know. So let's see here. Let me see what you're saying. All right. He keeps his scar as a reminder of his arrogance. Yeah, so we'll get to that. You are covering what we're all going to talk about. I should just bring your ass on in here and we could both discuss this, because this is a great conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and come back to this one here. Ganner, this is the quote. Ganner, I still hear you breathing back there. Now, or go. Now go. get them aboard and get the ship out of here. You're the only one who can save them, and I'm the only one who can buy you the time you need to go to do it. Go. So this is Korn to Ganner, and this is basically on Bamil when they're in the facility and they're trying to get out to escape, and then Korn Horn basically gets a little bit of prideful in a sense, and Ganner basically rescues everybody and basically carries Korn out, who is basically near death, and gets him to safety as well. So I'm all doing this in a nutshell right here. So we have that, and let's see here. So this with the scratch. Before I got this scratch, basically the scar, it goes all the way down his face, kind of remnants to Anakin's, right? Before I got the scratch, it was easy to believe in my own invincibility. I was arrogant enough to think of myself as perfect. And there we go. So I talked about this in the beginning and a little bit as we talked through the show when it came to Ganner. He was arrogant, prideful in a sense of himself. He also was trying to be someone other than himself as well. And perfect, I guess. And when he couldn't be perfect, he was trying to tie himself to someone perfect. So there's this big conflict within his mindset, really. And he goes, that's a trap. Worth, Octa, and others in his cabal are falling into. They think that because they've not been hurt, they can't be hurt. That's not an illusion I harbor anymore. So he's talking about, like feeling invincibility against the Vong who you can't really, or the Jedi can't really, feel in the Force or feel the presence in the Force. They're just like this black, empty void, I guess you can say. And so they're feeling invincible because they have not got hurt yet. And Ganner is keeping the scar to remind him. So Pyrrha says he keeps his scar as a reminder of his arrogance. The ending of his arc finds him questioning himself being a true Jedi, a hero. Then he finds his balance in the Force. Correct. And balance in the Force is not dark and light either. So don't misquote that or misunderstand what he was saying. Let's see here. And I checked thrift books. All role-playing books are sold out. Wow, dang. Amazon has KOTOR one for over $200, but the Legacy one is $60. Oh, shit. Okay. That's sad. Where does that fear lead you and cause you to do? Anakin feared for him or his wife's life, and his fear caused him to do literally anything to save her. Yeah. Let's see here. And conducts an awesome display of harmony with the Force, pulling off one of the greatest feats in New Jedi Order with his last stand. Correct. Let's see here. And speaking of the last stand, so I played the clip for you guys already in the beginning of the stream, and it's always great to hear the narration of it. And I want to do it again. So maybe I'll pull it back up instead of reading the comments here. So this comment's a little bit different than what I shared with you. So I'm going to read this and we'll play the clip, okay? There are thousands of warriors out here. You are only one man. And Ganner says, I am only one Jedi. You're insane. No, I'm Ganner. This threshold is mine. I claim it for my own. Bring on your thousands, one at a time or all in a rush. I don't give a damn. None shall pass. Now, how did he get into this predicament? How did he get into this? So he's on Coruscant. What is known as the Senate Hall, the Senate building that we see like in the PT and stuff like that is where the world brain is at. Pinned down into that hole, that how the Senate Hall, the Senate Auditorium, I guess you can say, is built. It has been restructured by the Vong to hold the world brain. And Jason, while he was captive, and even when he's still on Coruscant, has more freedom to move around in a sense, but still captive by the Vong. Working with the Vong, I guess you can say, but still being undercover in a sense. I don't know. It's I wouldn't say undercover, but he's looking for his way out. Ganner has the feeling that Jason is still alive. And he pursues and finds him on Coruscant. He gets himself captured. So I'm talking everything in basically in a nutshell here. I'm going to read what Pierre says. They're interesting too that they both have their experiences with the dark side as well, but still draw different conclusions and philosophies. Correct. Yeah, he goes back to for Korn disobeying Korn's orders. Haha. Yeah, exactly. And that's what also makes him a bit heroic in a sense, because he's stepping out of the pride of self, basically, like his image and stuff, and going and being selfless, right? And that's where you kind of see a little bit of the character arc switching up, just a little tiny bit. But when you're first reading it, you really don't see it. But then as you start moving along, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And then after you're done reading his whole story arc, you're like, okay, we see this evolution. And that's great writing in for a character. And so he goes, he gets himself kidnapped or taken, not kidnapped, but basically taken by the Vong. And he finds out it is Jason. And he's listening to what Jason is conforming to, right? And Jason's like, just let me do this and stuff. And basically tells him to kind of stand by. And he gives him Anakin's lightsaber. So that's what he uses, that purple blade. Because Ganner, his first lightsaber is yellow. His first lightsaber is yellow, when yellow lightsabers were cool, right? But anyways, when they weren't teased so much. But anyways, his first lightsaber is yellow, but he don't have his lightsaber or anything like that anymore. He's given Anakin's saber by Jason. And that's what he uses. And during this confrontation, what's going on with Jason, with the world brain and all this other stuff, sets up this whole, and like I said, I'm talking in short here. Those who haven't read, I don't want to give it too much in too detail, but this sets up the scene. And I highly recommend, if you haven't got there yet, you're going to have a blast reading it. If you haven't read New Jedi Order, I don't want to spoil too much for you. And just build up your excitement to read and get to Traitor, right? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring up, because my voice versus the narrative, the narrator, two different experiences. And I know most of you guys listened to it from the beginning, and I'm going to play it now. Let's see here. Bring that. Let's see here. And it doesn't have the full, let me go ahead and remove this real quick. It doesn't have the full conversation, but it's just enough just to get one excited about that scene. Okay.
Ganner spun his shining blade in a dazzlingly complex flourish that illuminated the arch around him, making it shine like a rainbow frame for the pure animal grace of his body.
"This threshold," he announced through a happy grin, "is mine. I claim it for my own. Bring on your thousands, one at a time or all in a rush. I don't give a damn."
His flourish ended with the blade slanted before his chest, and his teeth flashed in the gloom.
"None shall pass."
They come at him one at a time, an endless stream, each warrior in turn charging toward honorable single combat. Then they come two at a time. By the time they begin to come in groups, they have to scramble over bodies of their dead comrades to reach him. A pile of bodies. A pile that becomes a wall, a rampart. Ganner Rhysode builds a fortress of the dead.
There you go. Ganner builds a fortress of the dead bodies. And man, so I am, appearing on Pierce's channel, and we're reading through, not reading, but reviewing through these books. We're not yet to Trader, but I can't wait to talk about this with him and whoever else he brings on, because this is such a pivotal moment for this character. There's so much going on with him, even as he's being captivity of the Vong, right? So Pierre says here, it's crazy because Ganner is broken and disheartened, ill, etc. Moments of leading up to his last stand, Jason has to actually use the Force to prop him up, correct, and puppet him forward into the chamber. Yes, like he has to act like he's strong because of Vong. They don't like weakness, right? They don't like fucking weakness. And so he's so broken his mental state, in a sense, during the time, and even like his energy, that Jason has to use the Force to help aid him so that he doesn't get further punished by the Vong. And so he's taking him to the world brain. Right, exactly. Like I said, I didn't want to give it too much, but that's a great point too, is Jason had to basically carry him in the Force. And it's funny because like the Yuuzhan Vong can't sense anybody using the Force because, they're cut off from the Force and stuff. So very, very interesting. Nazo says, controlling your passions while being in love, that's what they should teach you, but to be wary, but love itself will save you, not condemn you. Correct. And that is basically something that is reiterated with Revenge of the Sith and so on. So that's something that's highlighted throughout. Anakin fell to the possession of love, the attachment, possession of love, and he was redeemed through unconditional love. Think about that. Think about that. Let's see here. All right. So Ganner Rhysode. Kip Duran's a fantastic character too. They really don't do his character justice in New Jedi Order, even like from the beginning. How many do we have? Kip Duran. How many people we have here in the comment that are under the faction Kip Duran did nothing wrong, or Kip Duran was right? Raise your hands. Raise your hands if you will. If you're a big Kip Duran fan and that he was right on his stance against the Vong. Hey there, Mr. Dystopian. How are you doing? And welcome. Kip was right. I'm a Kip defender. All right. Kip was right. I'm a Kip defender. Gander the goat. Gander the goat. There you go. Amazing character. Amazing arc for the short time that he's been within the lore. Hey there, Wolfscar. I see you. I'm still stalled by Star by Star. I have been reading church history since September. Oh my goodness. Did that really get you emotional wise with Anakin's death? Hello there, everyone. Force crush the like button. Yes, do what Lucas Gerson says. All right. So with that being said, we are going to move on to our next topic. But if you need to refresh in your drink or go to the fresher, I'm just going to play this here because I think that since we're, we talk about New Jedi Order, might as well play the advertisement for it, I guess you can say.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure if this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the New Jedi Order.
Now, I haven't decided which one I wanted to start with first, but let's go into the AI bit, because I think KOTOR one's going to be a very, I want to say heated stance, but it is something that fans are very passionate about. And there's going to be actually, you know what? We need to pay tribute before we move on to these other two topics. So let me go ahead and bring this up. I almost forgot, and I'm sorry. But let's see here. We're going to play tribute to William Dietz. Now, I thought I had the thing here. Marsha, Star Wars. I thought I had it on here. Dark Forces. There we go. So let's play tribute. Let's give tribute to William Dietz. But I'm going to go ahead and play this. Now, this is the game, and we're talking about William as the writer of the trilogy, the novella trilogy. However, he is a main contributor of the story as well, and brought us the story. So continued with the story outside the game. So let's go ahead and play this first, and then I'll bring up what I want to bring up.
I had a friend who was working with me at Spectrum Holobyte who went to LucasArts, and so he convinced me to come over there, and I fell in love with LucasArts, and I was always a Star Wars fan, and went out, and those guys took me out to lunch at the ranch and got to meet George and, you know, all the great things that you used to do in the early days when you joined LucasArts. And they basically said to me that I could come and do whatever I wanted. Whatever game I wanted to build, I could build up a team and go build it.
So that's one faction of the story, and this goes into the game. The other faction is with Mr. Dietz, and I think it's Dietz or Dietz or something like that. I hope I'm saying it right. So let's see here. Share screen. Let me see. Let me make sure I got the right one up. Okay. Let me make sure there we go. I want to just highlight the actual tweet and not everything else that's going on in the background of the page there. Cancel, got to refresh. Share screen. There we go. All right. So this day that it was posted is basically actually when he was passed away. So, but at the time there was no date given, so I wasn't sure if it was the night before or what have you. So we have William C. Dietz, known for the novella trilogy Dark Forces. I believe he wrote for Halo as well, and another franchise. I don't have that in front of me. I apologize. So he just recently passed within this month. Here he is. So he is responsible for these books here. This wonderful story. How, Kip Duran, came to be with Luke's faction. And, of course, you have his partner, Jan Ors, and how they remained together throughout the years, never got married. And it's kind of sad on Jan Ors' reasoning why. Basically, she doesn't want to bring in kids if they're still warring. And I'm being very, I'm paraphrasing it so much, but yeah, so she doesn't want to be like another Luke and Mara kind of situation and stuff like that. So very interesting on her wording on that. So Dietz right here. Let's see here. Let me go back. Let me close this. Go back. All right. This is the announcement on that day. Whoops. Let me go back. All right. So it's full screen there. All right. Just making sure. With heavy hearts, we want to share the passing of our husband and father, William C. Dietz. He brought joy to many as a friend and an author. writing was a part of him as much as breathing, and hardly a day went by where he wasn't at the computer creating more adventures. The what's that word? The underlying themes, there we go, in all his work was one of the good overcoming evil. And his wish was to provide readers with an escape from the messy, often unsatisfying endings of real-world stories. So just like George Lucas's focus with the movies, it was an escapism, right? As we mourn his passing, we will continue to hear his voice in the books he wrote and the lives of those touched through his writing as a devoted family man. We know that his words and kindness will live on in all who loved and knew him. With love from the family of William C. Dietz. There we go. So I'm just going to give a few moments of silence for this wonderful man who gave us, the story of Dark Forces in collaboration with the games and stuff, and his contribution to the other franchises that he written for. All right. And I don't have bad reading skill. And I know you are just trolling, mister, because that's what your niche is for your modding. So because you want me to time you out, I'm not going to time you out. I'm not going to time you out. So the audiobooks are audible. I'm always used to saying audible because I listen to a lot of audible. All right. So there you go. William C. Dietz. William C. Dietz, thank you so much for contributing to great story, the great trilogy, and bringing us Kip Duran. Love is good as long as it's not selfish. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. All right. With that being said, now let's get on to the next one. So I guess you could say both of these are considered for cringe factor. So we'll just go into that. We have two cringe factor factions or stories or topics or whatever you want to fucking call them. All right, so here we go.
So uncivilized.
All right, so the one that I'm going to get us into is going to be the Disney and AI. Disney and AI. So the Sora deal that Disney backed out of. So what do you guys know about this? And I think Tim has been covering a lot about AI and the evolution and what's going on here today with AI on his Rumble. And so I listened to, I think one, I missed the second one just recently. And it was very interesting reading like the evolution of AI and what's going on with it. And also interesting to see like environmental impact with it as well and all that. So that's another whole story that I'm not going to get into and talk about because, that's a huge debate with a lot of people, and also can create like even a split faction, or even like today's politics are so polarized and so negative that, people are using that to really separate themselves from other people. All of that. So I'm not here to do that or have disagreements to where it ends friendships or whatever, if you want to say they're friendships with anybody at all. And but with this, and I'm going to bring the article up right now as I'm talking. But with this, what do you think? Do you think because Disney backed out of this $1 billion agreement with Sora, so it's agreement investment, that they drop out of it, do you think that they're going to stop using AI? Do you think that AI is not going to be used? What does this mean for the future of their company with AI? Disney, which had linked a major pact for Sora, said it will continue to engage with AI platforms to find new ways to meet fans where they are. So this right here alone, we don't have to read on. This here alone says that they're still going to engage with AI platforms to find new ways to meet fans where they are. So we're talking about the modern fans here. Modern fans now, so these newer generations coming up, they are like the AI generations, right? They're more influenced with this quick gratification of making content. And AI is basically that. AI, I don't care much for it. I like to use it sometimes as an idea to what I want to paint or how something would look or what have you. But I'm not a big fan of AI, so you don't see me use it even much here on my channel as well to make thumbnails and stuff like that. But if you do, as an artist, I enjoy doing my stuff basically from scratch, whatever that means now today, right? But if you're not, as a creative or don't have that structure and skill as a creative, AI making your thumbnails and stuff like that, go for it. Go for it. If it helps you out a little bit more to get focus on your channel and stuff like that. OpenAI said it will discontinue Sora, the generative AI video creation app it launched last year without providing a reason for the decision. Quote here, "We're saying goodbye to Sora. To everyone who created with Sora, shared it, built community around it, thank you. What you made with Sora mattered, and we know this news is disappointing," OpenAI Sora team said in a statement Tuesday. So this came out basically, does it have a date? On the 24th. So Sora is owned by Oprah, or she's invested highly into it. So a little interesting tidbit there. The statement added, "We'll share more soon, including timeline for the app and API and details on preserving your word." OpenAI didn't respond to requests for additional info. So there you go. So Disney is still using AI. They're just not using Sora. So they dropped their plans for that $1 billion investment. And since then, Sora's app has basically shut down, is done for. So there you go. So this doesn't mean this is a quick celebration like, oh, yay, Disney is not going to be doing AI affiliated stuff. No, they still are. They're just not going to go through Sora. They backed out of this proposed investment. So see people celebrate, yay, da-da-da, they're not going to go AI route, blah, blah. No. They already started going the AI route when they started doing the face, replacing the face or de-aging the faces, like of Luke and stuff like that. They started using AI. And they will not stop using it. They will not discontinue it. It's just their direction's going somewhere other than Sora. And so I wanted to make this clear because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter celebrate this as if this is like a defeat against AI, a step away from AI. It's not. And it won't be. They won't because they want to serve the modern fans. And this is a great segue into our next one. But they want to serve the modern fans. Modern fans are more into this technological AI type approach than ever before. So me coming in from a generation that watched the internet come to life, me being where my entertainment was as a child was raising hell outside, playing in the mud, the dirt, using, if we didn't have them, using like long sticks or whatever as, you know, basically lightsabers and stuff. You know, and using our imaginations, get on our bikes, hiking around, going and swimming in ditches because we were hot, drinking out of the hose because, you know, even my unchi, my grandma was like, you guys go outside or I'm going to give you something to do. We're like, we don't want to work. We don't want chores. Okay, we're out of here. Or they would say, this is an adult conversation. Go play. You know? And so living as a feral kid, basically. And then growing up and then finally getting these little weird, huge boxes that are called computers and playing like, what is it called? What is that game called now? Shit. Now I had it at the tip of my tongue. Oregon Trail. This very digitalized, pixeled kind of thing that the graphics were just basically very, 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 very simple. Like you can say it's like the Stone Age of computer games, right? Playing that and learning how to type on the keyboard. Oh no, learning how to type on the typewriter first, then the keyboard. Holy shit. So I'm really fucking aging myself, but I'm just sharing, going and then seeing all of a sudden this thing called the internet and this dial-up come to light as a preteen at one of my friends' house. And I'm being from a family that was making ends meet and going over to my friend's house and learning about the internet and the dial-up and all that stuff. Crazy shit, you know, and seeing the fuss and all that with that. And barely, like, only time we had computers in the classroom growing up in elementary and stuff was just to learn how to type and stuff like that. So very, very crazy. And then seeing as I got older, teenage years, you know, the development of the computer technology, Word coming into play, like word programming, Microsoft Word and stuff like that. And you know, I used to, like, I was in the generation of still handwriting out our essays right before Word came out. You know, so I mean, yeah, so I'm like reliving all this now, but now looking in this future generation, like even for my granddaughter, she is of the AI generation. And what does that mean for her future? Now I can commend my daughter. She's like, my baby's not going to be raised by the iPad and stuff like that. And she's stuck to it. She's stuck to it. Her and my son-in-law, you know, they want her to be fully present in her development, fully present in her experience, and live in the world, touch basically grass, go out there and dance and have fun, all of that, and be off electronics as much as she can, right? And being a fan of this modern day, it's all over the place, right? So what is AI going to mean for the future generations going up when I'm long gone, when we're long gone, and they have AI? So Disney's still going to go down the AI path. They're still down the AI path. They're just not going through Sora. We wrote in cursive, correct. My kids still know how to write in cursive. And I want to teach my granddaughter to write in cursive. In fact, I have this art studio and I'm already thinking about what stuff I can get for her to, when I'm in here painting, she can do that too with me. Did y'all have the typewriter computer? OG, my older sister had that. My friend had that. So I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But that type, and then type, ding. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. And just to think, like, being the generation that's seen this evolution and where we are here today. Crazy as hell. I could truly say I lived. I'm staring out my window right here. I still have it slightly open because there's a nice breeze going on. And just looking at the trees and stuff like that and just thinking, geez, like there's times I just go outside and just sit and relax and we love to hike and all this other stuff, but to think like just not being present, like these future generations. And there is hope though, because there are a lot of people, a lot of kids in these newer generations that are starting to put down their phones and their electronics and wanting to talk to people actually on the phone and stuff. So hopefully that stays and evolves again to where you have human contact, human face-to-face conversation. But with AI, what does that mean anymore, right? And what does that mean for like Hollywood and actors and actresses who can then, with the evolution of AI and stuff, and basically droid type things that you see that they're already experimenting with, what does that mean for the actors and actresses? And now do they write in their will that I do not want to be generated in the future for future films? So it's all fucking crazy just to think about, like, what is entailed. This is not the end. And with Disney, this is not the end. So why are people celebrating? Like as if Disney's not going to use AI. I don't know. I don't fucking get it. It's here to stay. And this is not the end. All right. So with that being said, let's talk about the remake now. So let me remove this. Let me pull that one up that I want to talk about. So as I'm pulling up KOTOR about the remake, the fans in here, we're all fans, right? But the fans in here, what do you think about the remake of KOTOR? What do you think that brings for the future, since the focus of it, and I thought I had the link or the post saved so I can grab it. I don't. So what do you think that means, since they are catering to modern fans? What is catering to modern fan? What does that mean? What does that mean? Let me see here. Let me see. So I thought I had a link to pull up for it, like a link to read from, but I don't. And then we don't need it, because we have what I want right here. Let me just pull it up on the screen. How does it make you feel? Like those who play the game now, that can just pull it up on screen, whether you're on a computer or you have the console and stuff like that. How does it make you feel that this actual wording remake for the modern fan? And we were just talking about AI pertaining to modern fan, right? So what does that, what's your view on that? Now on this, what I'm pulling up here, it says warning label, remake for the modern player. So I said fan, but player, fan, whatever, however you want to label that. So let's see here. Catering to modern audiences would be inserting real world politics in the game and making the villain the writer's vision of their political opponent. Okay. All right. Disney shields are AI phobes. We only rip Star Wars AI fan films because of the fake reactor grift. Correct. The low effort, low quality writing, bastardizing of the lore, or worse, blending of the lore. Correct. And I did say that, mention that these guys, these AI creators that come in and bring these stories, they rehash like Dark Lord, Rise of Darth Vader. I pointed that out already. But then they also insert Disney lore, right? And then you have these people who basically are anti-EU people cheering this on and not realizing that this is from the EU as well. And they're like, oh, they're doing it better. They're doing it greater. No, it was actual pre-Disney Star Wars that did it better and greater. Not these guys, not these dolts. KOTOR remake will be a piece of shit. They will change the story to commie feminist pedo trash. Woo! There you go. Two things. Gameplay is more modern to the fans and the happy people. Shiny, happy people holding hands. Oh my gosh. Okay, so catering to modern audiences would be inserting real world. I think I read that one. Visions of the. Yeah, I read that one. I went up. I scrolled up a little bit just so I can catch some people's comments on here that already comment when I asked the question and I didn't catch. Let's see here. They're gonna ruin it with modern views and Disney bullshit. Yep, exactly. From what I know, it'll be trash trying to ham-fist the story into Disney canon. At one point, they will talk about turning it into backlash games like The Force Unleashed, but who knows? Okay, so going into what I was like, I don't want to talk about this directly until we get into the topic. So I asked earlier, what do you think they're going to put in there that is Disney? What timeline is still a part of the Old Republic? And also, what was brought back just recently to Disney time? We thought that they were done with it, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's back. So what do you think I'm talking about? The High Republic. Now, do you think that they're going to insert any type of like planet or ancestor to some of those characters that are in the High Republic? Or maybe expand on a story that happened in the High Republic that could influence the events in the High Republic? So think about that. Because all of a sudden, the High Republic has returned, right? So I'm just throwing these what if theories out. Doesn't mean it's true or whatever. Just giving you some thought, thinking points of like, what does this remake instill? And if they're going to go to the timeline, the High Republic is still within the time frame of the Old Republic. If you look at it in a pre-Disney aspect of the time frame, the prequel trilogy, Order 66, and the Rise of the Empire was the end of the Old Republic. So the Old Republic spanned for so many years, right? Like 3,000 plus or so. I'm like just throwing dates out without looking at the calendar, the historical timeline. But the Rise of the Empire ends the Old Republic. So when you look now into the Disney timeline, they kind of keep everything relatively the same in a sense, like the quote unquote historical timeline. They kind of brought that over and started filling stories in there as they removed the EU so that they have a clean slate for creative freedom, right? So within that time frame, you have the High Republic. Something to consider, something to think about, and keep an eye out for. Could be wrong, probably am, but I'm just like going into like, this is kind of what my gut feelings tell me, but doesn't mean that it will happen. But looking at other stories that had happened within the timeline, like with Mandalorian, they used references that can reference the sequel trilogy. So just something to consider. So Pura says here, also the one video that almost complete stuck to the lore, the creator pretended they wrote the scene when it was pretty much plagiarized from OC Clone Wars. I didn't see that yet, but I've seen talk about that. I've seen you guys I've seen gatekeepers talking, and then also other people talking about that. I haven't had a chance to investigate. Holy fucking shit. And that's dishonesty right there. That is pure dishonesty. And people praising it. Oh, look at what they did, kind of deal. Like people knowing probably pretty well that creator was a bullshitter. All right. Soul Assassin says, watch, they're going to make the Cathar Jedi being lesbian a main plot of the game? They keep releasing information contradicting themselves every time. They do. And that's the thing is, like, it's been going on for so long, but it's always been coined a remake. Now, this image here does not make me think of the Knights of the Old Republic right here. Makes me think more about Halo. Let me see here. Who am I missing? Okay. Knights of the Artificial Intelligence. Okay. They're going to make Revan and Bastilla a dyad to make that Rey and Kylo crap more legit. Ooh, holy crap. There we go. That is a great possibility. KOTOR should just have a remaster. The remake will give it the Delgard treatment. There you go. Disney is polluting Legends content with their remakes, correct? But mods can remaster it anyways. Let's see here. There was some shit about making Revan non-binary, but that's activists try to push that crap. Yeah. So people, like, there's a lot of over history, there's a lot of people's headcanon on they got to select the character and the gender of the character, and they got to kind of like create their own story. And this is where I go into telling people that don't realize this, but how you played is not necessarily what happened in the canon, right? The story that was published for it was the canon, or at least, you know, like, well, yeah, not at least, it was the canon. There was some, and there is the canon story within the game, but you still got the freedom of playing it in different ways, right? There was some shit about making Revan non-binary. Oh, I read that one already. I thought I clicked down. Yep, they already have remastered. Let's see here. And new lead character will be female. Laugh out loud. Hey there, Calcite. How are you doing? And I have 52 people, beautiful souls, watching. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening in. And if you want something to say about this, if you have an opinion on here, I'd love to hear it. Come over here on Rumble or on YouTube, or leave it on Twitter, and I will respond to it when we're done here. I can't keep track of Twitter comments on as it streams there. That's just a platform to advertise, and people can click on it and listen in while they are on Twitter and stuff like that. So it is just another tool to get, you know, the channel out there into the public, into the masses. So thank you guys for your continued support. They've been adding Disney stuff into KOTOR games. I hear, yeah, that's what was mentioned to me, because like I said, I'm not a big gamer like I used to be. But that's something that was brought to my attention as well. And funny thing is that I hardly hear anybody bitch and complain or talk about that unless it's brought up. So is it because there was no big fuss about that this remake is going to go that direction too, because they are testing the waters? We've talked about this before. They're testing the waters on fans' reactions. Sometimes I don't even give a shit, but still. But how fans react will then open up the doors for other productions to go the same way. So something to think about. Something to think about. Pull that bus over to the side of the pretentiousness highway. I want all the happy people on one side and all the shiny people on the other. Dennis Leary. Shiny, happy people. Oh my goodness. The biggest right around issue is obviously the hyperspace lane discoveries. And there you go. Because in the Disney lore, it is very different and happens differently. And even in the timeline, it happens differently. It's relatively new, like 200 years before the prequel trilogies happened. So, but within the real canon, George Lucas era, it happens long way before then, right? So very different things going on there. The High Republic, the failed era, they quite literally failed a whole era. No one cares about it. Well, it's coming back. They just announced it's coming back. They have new stories. They're adding new stories. The Jedi games, which I have been told by closest shills, are worthy exceptions. Have High Republic references. Fallen Order literally had Starkiller Base in it. Ooh, okay. So High Republic references. So if that can have High Republic references, the KOTOR game can, right? And what is the point of putting the High Republic that takes place after the Old Republic when they should have done that after the sequels? Well, we just confirmed here, like I don't keep much up on the history of games and what lore's inserted in the games. And I need to, right? So thank you for that. Oh, and Mike, also Luke apparently comes across Starkiller Base with it being constructed during the Imperial era and didn't tell anyone what. Oh, yeah, that's, I pointed that out too before. I forgot about Disney Old Republic canon like lore. It's all shit. It's all shit. Let's see here. They should have stuck with the Eclipse game and left KOTOR fucking alone. They wanted to invest a lot of the High Republic crap. They should have stuck to it. Okay, so now talking about this remake. And modern audiences. It's a timeless game that many are still picking up. Like these newer generations are picking up to play now. It's beloved since it came to be, even today. So why do they need to remake it for the modern player? What is it that I'm missing in the modern player stance that needs to be changed for KOTOR to cater to them? Can anybody answer that for me? Like I said, if it's just about technological advances and updating, that's basically a remaster. But what is it for the modern player that this remake needs to happen to cater for them? And then how is this going to now alienate fans that grew up with it and played it from its inception to the Star Wars universe? Let's see here. I'm waiting for someone to plug the Heir to the Empire PDF into the AI and make a movie. If nobody else does it, I will, so I can see it on screen, because Disney is ass. Oh my goodness. See, AI is not going to stop just because Disney decided to back out of a deal. They're still using AI, right? It's not the celebration many people think. It's funny because a few days ago, some loser called me a fake Old Republic fan. Yeah, I'm fake and collect the comics, novels, games, figures for fun. Oh my goodness, that's funny. You're a fake fan because you don't want this remaster. So we're going to see whiny ass characters for the future generations. I don't know. For these modern players. And I hate to say that because my son-in-law and my son are basically more or less within the modern player genre, I guess you could say, if you want to call it a genre or a group or whatever. And they're playing games that I've seen developed before they were born. And those newer, so I don't know. It's just like, I'm curious now, but then I don't want it to happen. I want it to happen to see the backlash, but see what they change. But I don't want it to happen because it's a beloved game. I want it to happen so there's more backlash. And this time under Filoni. Oh, God. But then I don't want it to happen because it's a beloved game. I don't know. So the catch to that, it's like curiosity killed the cat, right? Oh, gee, remember when that Revan Legends cover had Revan looking like a woman? Sent you the picture. Did you send it just now? Let me see here. Let me go ahead and close out the screen because I don't want to. I know you sent me the picture before. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's compare covers here. Let me pull up the screen. Okay. All right. So here is the Essential Legends cover. And, you know, Saul saying, oh, like he looks more feminine here than what he's intended. So here is the Essential Legends cover. What do you guys think about this versus this? I would like to know what you guys think about that. All right, let me see. There we go. This is the one I want. All right. There will be a Trump insert as the bad guy. They can't help themselves. Ooh. Let's see here. I know what will happen. They change the same stuff. All the other AAA games companies change when they do a remake. Yeah. Let's see here. So what do you guys think about that? Cover versus cover. Cover versus cover. This right here versus this, based on the explosive new video game from BioWare and LucasArts. Now, LucasArts, and when I was looking into it, I think LucasArts was housed in the facility that the barn that's turned into the facility for LucasArts. So that's I remember seeing that. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But I remember seeing that the barn that's on Skywalker Ranch basically is the facility that LucasArts was housed in. So that was turned into a facility for LucasArts. So that's right there is interesting. All right. OG cover definitely. Yep. There you go. All right, you guys. So here we have it. If you guys have any last comments about the remaster or remake, not master, geez, remake of KOTOR. If there's anything that I didn't touch upon with regarding that you want to address, let me know in the comments. The OG will always be the better, especially in company to the parent AI-generated one made by Disney. So there you go. There you go, pointing out, because a lot of these that we have talked about are basically more or less look like AI-generated, computer-generated than the other. But hey, sometimes we have covers that come from the game. Not saying that this is all hand painted or drawn out and stuff. Sometimes sometimes there are covers that come from the game. Sometimes, not always. They could have had an easy win by adding a game plus and add all cut content from KOTOR 2 instead of remaking the games. Okay. And Soul Assassin, once this happens and it's released, once it does, if it ever does, because like I said, it's been a very long time since they first announced it, coming into today as we're talking about it, right? So once, if it actually happens and they release the remake of the game, oh boy, someone's going to have to go check on Soul Assassin. And all those who are big fans of the game and of the historical timeline. Palpatine is pretty much space Trump. There you go. So we have this here. Remake. Disney's remake of Old Republic that's been going on for so many years now. We have Disney dropping AI, but they're not going to drop AI, right? So they're just dropping a company. That's it. They're still going to always use AI. This is not the win that many people think that it is. AI is now going to be ever present. As much as I don't care for it, I do recognize that it's a great way to plan ideas for creative endeavors, or if you're not someone who is very skilled in using technology, like to make thumbnails and stuff, or for your shows, your live streams and stuff like that, then it's easy to use AI kind of adaptive software for that. That's fine. That's cool. You know, but me as an artist, I'd rather sit down, draw out, paint out, do a little bit of digital art just for exploration and stuff like that. Because I have. You guys know I have. But like the tool in the hand, basically, to the paper, to the canvas or whatever, that goes into a lot of critical thinking, right? Exploration of creativity, of the thought process. When we start deadening ourselves to that and just using AI to filter and create, we start losing that imaginative, creative, critical thinking. And that's how I see that. And, you know, and I said this before, like, there was a time where the schools started to drop classes like art classes. And from there, that took away from that constructive, critical thinking, creative process part of our brain. That the critical thought process of, you know, coming up with something and describing it, putting it on paper, writing about it, all of that. Now, some schools since then have brought it back, but it's not a set curriculum now, right? Me growing up from elementary all the way into high school, it was one of the classes that we had to take. And no matter your skill level, you learn the skill, right? But no matter your skill level, whether it's more and less inherent or easier than other people's ability, it was something that got you together with your friends in a creative process and brainstorming, all of that. And then even looking at George Lucas and his evolution of film and going into a lot of like CGI, like there was a backlash with CGI in him. Like he was one of the pioneers for that, like fully, you know, computer generated stuff, right? Now, many people have told me, or I've seen on Twitter and other social medias about George Lucas, oh, he would have, you know, used AI to create. I would say probably not, maybe for some instances, but probably not, because there's always that human contact. And also the creating the live sets with little figures and stuff like that. So there was always that production. There was always that. So that is one in itself, a debate right there. So keep an eye out with AI and with Disney, and know that it's here to stay, right? And Disney stepping away from the company that they were going to invest into, it's not a win. They're still going to use AI, just not with them, not through them, not in conjunct to them. Yeah. And that goes into the remake. You know, what does that mean for the future of Star Wars? Like the past Star Wars content that we got that's here. And how does it change it for the future? And how does this rewrite the history of the game? something to think about as well. So with that being said, you guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for talking with me about Ganner Rhysode and, his character arc within the novel Traitor. And even before then, because Traitor is like his last stand and he gives his life, which is very heroic for a Jedi, something that Jedis do. And that was such it's like me reading that for the first time. And at the time when I first read it, I wasn't really into Lord of the Rings. But then since I got into and picked up the book and read, and then also the movie, I was like, oh, whoa, okay, that's cool. You see influence, you see inspiration, but both of them are something completely different in a sense, right? Like the motivations are different, but it's still the same because it's basically last stand for them in a sense, but not for Gandalf because he's already a immortal being. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool, and I still think it is cool today because it gives great character arc, character growth, and all that for these characters that we read about and stuff. And great writing for Ganner all the way around. If I think comparing it between Jason's arc and intentions from the authors versus Ganner's is more smoother and less bumpy than Jason's because, like I said, how each of them characterized him and all this other stuff, it's not done so smoothly. And as we get further into New Jedi Order, I will discuss it more and more and more because I see it. All right, let's see here. OG, use a Gen X way and show the little one Schoolhouse Rock to learn conjunction junction. What's your function? Yeah, exactly. All right. So with that being said, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. If you're catching the replay and you made it this far, thank you so much. Let me know in the comment. If you haven't followed me on Rumble, get your ass over and do that. No, I'm joking. all bossy. Yeah. And support me over there, and thanks for the Rumble homies over there holding ground over there as well as the YouTube here. And I will see you next Thursday. We are finishing up the book Traitor, the events in the book Traitor. Again, it's not a review of the book, but talking about the events that happen within the book, that timeline. So a different approach coming through, reading through the New Jedi Order. And who knows what topic's going to be next week. We'll see. So as we part here, you guys have a great day. Thank you for your continued support and for sitting and hanging out with me, discussing these topics and the real Star Wars, George Lucas era of Star Wars. So you guys, may the force be with you, and I'll talk to you later.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the expanded universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The expanded universe respects the reader. In the expanded universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy, just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational. And he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story in continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
Another happy landing.